Any women out there on Valentine's Day who are like, oh, I feel like a loser. Let me remind you, men are boring, boring, boring. My mutual wife, Yetta, made a video about this the other day. And I want to expand on what she was talking about. She was not wrong. One of my other mutuals, Scary Mommy, her and I had a conversation about this like last year where she was like, you know, if you ask a man what's going on in his head, when he said, what are you thinking about? And he says nothing, they're not lying. And so I was like, yeah, it's true. As somebody who worked in the wilderness with men, mostly men for a long time, whitewater raft guide, ski instructor, climbing instructor, like I worked in the wilderness with mostly men. And let me tell you something, they're so boring. They're so boring. They have nothing to talk about but gear. My carabiner this, my, Pete. God, what kind of rope you got? You got the Pete. They talk about gear all the time. And that's if you're in the outdoor community. If you're in if they're into sports, they're giving stats. He did this, fantasy football. If they are like a deadhead or like panic head or fish head or whatever, they're gonna pop set list. Oh, what did he play at the Roxy in Atlanta in '96? You know what he did on God, they memorize stuff to impress each other so they can piss all over, it's so boring. I was like almost wanted to cry. I was so bored talking to some of these. Not all. Some of my guy friends were some of the most fascinating people I've ever met. Those are the ones I chose to hang out with, but I had to work in the wilderness with a lot of men, and sometimes I was like, what the hell are we going to talk about? I just let him talk about gear for 4 days. Or tell me another amazing story about some crazy adventure where he almost died, because that's like how they brag, right? And the whole thing in the wilderness also is just like about, conquering nature and riding nature and putting a flag in Mother Nature as if she's like, is something to be conquered or something to grape, But so whatever, that's the classic colonial mindset of like, colonizer crap, right? This is what I look like when I'm listening to men talk. Look how bored he is. So bored. And you know what the thing is that part of it is because they have nothing to worry about. Nothing. Now, I'm not saying that all men, right? I'm talking about the most privileged men in society have nothing to worry about. So like white, able-bodied, cishet men especially, and especially if they're rich, the richer they are, the more boring, right? The less funny they are, which I talk about as a comedian too, that I don't usually listen to white, cishet white men mostly, unless they come from, poverty, which, whatever, what's his butt? The mullet guy, what's his name? The guy who just helped get Trump elected. I did a whole video about those dudes and how much they literally pushed, and God, that guy sucks so much. Ugh. Anyway, most men have nothing interesting to say. Because the more privilege they have, and not just men, white people, right? A lot of white people, we are so not funny because we don't actually know a lot of hardship, right? So like the more privilege you have, the less funny you are, the less interesting you are. And so a lot of men literally have nothing to do. And because of the way they're socialized under patriarchy, to, just like compete and like impress other men, because even like chasing us is about impressing other men and looking good, that they don't actually take the time. They're going to therapy. They don't take the time to read books that will make them think. They consume. And I'm even talking about some of the most interesting men I know are so blocked. Because they're passive. And that's why I'm like, this is not a loneliness crisis. This is an entitlement crisis. Do you know why? Here's the thing that, I'm, as an immigrant, I am constant, and I've been moving around for most of my adult life constantly. So I've had to learn how to make friends regularly and put myself out there and be vulnerable. I just did it last weekend. I went to a trans protest here and not many people showed up. I went all alone and I was like, oh, well. And then I was like, you know what? Go talk to someone, Melanie. Just go talk to people. So I ended up thinking of a reason to go talk to someone. I smiled at someone and this couple, and they smiled back. So we hung out for like 4 hours, went and got drinks, exchanged numbers, and I'm going to go hang out with them in a couple weeks at their house party, you know? So I am like literally just constantly trying to challenge myself, put myself out there, and it requires like your feelings being hurt. Like maybe no one wants to hang out with me and I just have to take that risk, right? And then, so I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups with other immigrants, and I tell you, a lot of them are just women groups. And do you know on a regular basis what women, they'll post and they'll be like, hey, I just moved here, or, you know, I'm still making friends. Does anyone want to hang out today? Does anyone have time? And then girls will be like, I'll hang out with you, or I'm not busy today, but give me another day. That's what we do. We push ourselves constantly to create community and bonds and friendship because that's what we've been taught to do. And I know men weren't taught to do that, but push yourself, challenge yourself. But so many men are so passive and don't, you know, like Vivietta was saying, they have the pastimes, but they don't have like actual hobbies, or a lot of their hobbies are so this goes back to my conversation. They're so time consuming, they're so money intensive, and they end up being very selfish because they almost become addictions, or do become literal addictions for a lot of these men. So it's not even about, it becomes less about community building and challenging yourself and being healthy, and more about escapism and addiction, because I don't know how to fill this void inside because I feel dead and have all these things I need to talk about from my childhood or from this and that. And I won't do that. So I just chase the adrenaline or you know, whatever. Dopamine, consume, buy more gear, talk about the gear I bought, go to another concert, follow, you know, widespread panic all freaking summer and spend thousands of dollars so you can tell everybody about. And sure, you have fun at the show and everything, but like, do you remember the conversations you had with anybody? You know what I mean? Like, were you really building community, or are you just like having an excuse to get forked up with other people that you may never see again? So a lot of men don't actually have hobbies that are actually about like a skill or learning something or challenging themselves. It might be like a game approach, but it ends up, if they don't have that real curiosity and that like community building spirit and challenging yourself rather than punishing yourself. Because I know, as a, you know, I've written about it for Outside Magazine as a toxically masculine feminist, I went the cool girl route. I acted like these guys for a while and I felt dead. Because being a part of that world of men, just, you know, even if they're doing interesting things, oh, he's exciting, he's a raft guide. Some of these raft guide men that I worked with, some of them are the most precious people I know and are like important part of my life, but some of them are the most terrifying men, right? They're secret, like they're high all the time, even when, you know, you're in a boat with them with your life, right? And it's because everything is about escapism and everything is about passing time, right? And punishing themselves. So much of the stuff that I did, I thought it was about challenging myself, and it was really about like masochism and like punishing myself and enjoying pain. Now, I love, you know, the whole no pain, no gain. I actually do kind of love pain a little too much sometimes. But I do love challenging myself. I try to do something every single day that makes me proud of myself. At least one thing. Yesterday, I did 5. Some of them I even like probably should make me proud, but I just like, they're a habit now, so they don't. But something that like I didn't want to do, something, you know, like I try to face one of my fears every day, or challenge myself to something like, you know, calling the IRS and clearing up this $55,000 bill that they say I owe for 2019 in taxes when I made $9,000 that year as a writer. By the way, that's why I shifted into videos, by the way. As writing doesn't pay. Thanks, ChatGPT and AI. Billionaires taking over the business anyway. But I've been putting it off forever and ever. And because I have that escapism mindset too sometimes, and I don't want to deal with that mindset that a lot of men have, it's been hanging over my head. But I know I didn't owe them that money. And I finally called the IRS. And you know what? I felt great. I'm so proud of myself because it's not my fault. These forkers, one of the publishing said that I made $100,000 instead of $1,000 for writing an article. And so now it's taking me months to clean up this mess. But that mindset, right? The more privilege you have, the less you like things, you just, oh God. Challenging yourself isn't something that's interesting. Passing time. So many men want a pet. They want a dog. I literally had a friend who was dating somebody and she was like, I'm already bored. I'm so bored. Like, he just wants me to watch TV with him. I feel like I'm a dog. Like, why am I even here? I'm like, yeah, this is exactly, a lot of men literally want to date women, so you just watch TV with them for the rest of their life, or go to football games with them or whatever, or they go do all that with their guy friends and you're at home, you know, doing all the other stuff. They don't even want to hang out with you. So it's either one or the other. You do everything he wants to do or you never see him. A lot of women right now on Valentine's Day are like, I'm so bored. And what I mean by that is a lot of women who they thought met interesting men. They had done interesting things, but they're not interesting men. They're masochists or they're escape artists, like escapists. So they just, they fill the time, they fill the space. But at the end of the day, they're not actually emotionally interesting. Do you know what I mean? They're definitely not interested in the women they date and marry even sometimes. When I was with that little hobo, the hobosexual, literal rail rider, I remember in the beginning it was so exciting because he ate my so well. They all do. The hobosexuals always eat this really well. Watch out. But I remember after like a couple weeks, I was like, we went on a road trip together and I was stuck in a car with him for 9 hours to drive all the way down the Carlsbad Caverns. This was when I lived in Taos, New Mexico. And I just remember being like, what do we talk about? I mean, this man had a very interesting life. He rode the rails, and all this stuff. But now I realize half of that's probably lies. Anyway, literally ate out of dumpsters. Wow, what an interesting man. Had nothing to say. It was just, it's empty up here. Empty. Just dumb as rocks. Had nothing to say. So not interesting. But you know what he was? He was a predator. And so he studied people and he knew how to say, he knew how to extract whatever he needed to extract from human beings, especially women. But at the end of the day, he's not smart. I was so bored. And yet I wasn't, because I was exhausted by this man because he was jealous. He was angry and he had me on edge all the time. So I was never bored in terms of I was always preoccupied with stress, fear, walking on eggshells, reliving my daddy issues all over again. So I didn't create any art, didn't do anything for myself, literally lost myself with the most boring yet exhausting man. And I think that that's how a lot of women would explain being with men. Boring as hell and yet somehow exhausting, which is also what babies are, but at least babies are cute and they're literally helpless instead of king baby helpless. And that's one thing I've heard from moms is that babies are really boring and they're also exhausting, right? But babies are allowed to be that and they're cute. And I'm so sorry to put babies in the category with men, but I'm just saying, they're a lot of work. They're a lot, and just like men, they almost heal you. It's not on purpose. So if you want to date men and you're really sad right now, if you're alone, first of all, literally all the amazing stuff that I've done in my life, and there's a long list. Worked in the film industry, worked on a strawberry farm in Argentina, taught English in Chile, taught English in Spain, was a whitewater raft guide, ski instructor. I have a list of and why? Because I wasn't dating men. Completely celibate for 12 out of my adult years between 40 and 18 and 40. 12! Wasn't even kissing them. I mean, not all consent. 5 years off. Nope, not interested. Y'all, my life was so interesting and exciting because I didn't date men because they're boring and exhausting. So please, when they say, when you're like, what do you think about, honey? What are you thinking about? Nothing. Or they're thinking about something that's whereas what are we thinking about? Usually we're thinking, oh my God, we got to do this. And what if this happens? We're full of anxiety. We're full of fear. We're full of we're planning stuff. We're wondering about that. I don't know. And maybe it's just the women. Oh, you flipped. Maybe it's just the women I hang out with, but we never stop. We're so that's our problem is we never rest. Whereas a lot of men's problem is that's all they do is rest and exist and stress you out and extract labor because they're sucking on you all the time. So if you are sad on Valentine's Day because you are not dating a man or married to a man, I promise you, you are better off than the majority of women who are married to men, because these men, unless they are actively deconstructing patriarchy and love the crap out of the woman they're with, which is what's one of the things that's going to make them willing to deconstruct, they are boring these women and exhausting these women. And women might be posting all these beautiful photos on this and that, and have their, trad wife lifestyle and the baby, but I am telling you, a lot of these women are bored. They're so bored. Because most men, not all, Most men are boring as hell, but exhaust you to the point of taking years off of your life at the same time. And I know it's crazy that those two exist at once, but they do. So if you're single today, I am telling you, I would not be who I am right now if I had not just tapped out and really focused on dating myself, exploring my creativity, not associating any of my dreams with a man. If you wanted to travel alone or with your girlfriends. Don't wait to get married to do this. One of my friends literally just had a baby because she was tired of waiting, sperm donor. She's doing great. Another friend literally built a tiny house by herself because she got tired of waiting to have that thing she really wanted, waiting for a man to fall into her life. Please decenter men from your fantasies, from your career goals, because these are all ghost men, right? Maybe you'll meet one. But needing to meet one and feeling bad that you don't have one. God, I hate that they did that to us. But of course they did. Of course they did. And I do believe more and more men, out of having no other choice because women are not mothering them so much, are finally being like, I guess the only choice I have is either die or evolve and change and maybe work on this and this instead of just escaping and talking about freaking gear. Anyway, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Celebrate Galentine's Day. Celebrate your friends. I've been doing it my whole life. I refuse to celebrate this holiday, even though I actually am married to an amazing person that I love. I refuse to celebrate this day because this day is if it's about love, it's about all the people I love. And I love a lot of people. So the love of my life is me. That's me. That's the only way I can show up for anybody and actually love other people and let people love me is if I were, and it took me a long time to do that stuff, and I'm still my own worst enemy on some days. But that's been my number one commitment for a long time, and it's been paying off. So you're not missing out on much. A lot of women are bored. Anyway, et voila. And if you can please see the post in my community section. Tammy, who is one of the people who has helped change my life and my work, and y'all have benefited from her work influencing me. And I've talked to her offline privately, like we have, been working together privately, and from her work, she has lost all of her contracts on DEI because of what the government's doing, and she's gotten a car accident. So if you want to show any gratitude today to particularly a woman who has influenced you, that you want to show some love to, send it to Tammy. The link I'm gonna put a link also in this video, but go see the post. I wrote more about it there, or go to her GoFundMe, follow her on YouTube, download her empathy scorecard. Hold on, this right here. I took this test. This gave me so many helpful questions to help me see what I needed to work on, and that like falling in love with myself, learning how to have self-empathy, and also not self-abandon when I have empathy for others. I can't recommend this enough, and Tammy enough, and she does take private clients too. So anyway, if you want to show some love to if you want to give a Galentine's Day gift to someone today, just feel good about supporting somebody who's doing really important work that has impacted me and my work, show some love to Tammy. Anyway, take care of yourself. Do for yourself today what you wish a partner would do for you. That was my motto for over 10 years. And that is the only reason why I am where I am today and don't freaking hate myself. And I'm not like actively trying to die because that has been my North Star for a while. How do I do something for myself every day that I wish someone else would do for me? I don't mean like massage and stuff. I mean nurturing thing. Artist Dates. Artist Way is a great book to start with. Did the Artist Way several times. Journaling, reading, taking yourself out to something that you wanted to see really bad. Date yourself. I can't tell you how much that helped. And again, if you're having a problem in certain areas and you want to know what those areas to work on, an empathy scorecard. Great place to start. Anyway, love yourself today, even if you hate yourself. Yeah, act your way into loving yourself as best as you can. Because most men are never, if you date men, most men are never, or even any other humans aren't going to fill that for you. Anyway, all right, let me know if you heard the comments off. Things I did because I wasn't dating men. Common Song Edition, protesting in Chile. Jerry Springer Show with one of my best friends, Hazy. Climbing in Yosemite and being on a National Geographic show. Things I did because I wasn't dating men. Beating Elizabeth Gilbert and getting a blurb from my book from her. Then because I wasn't dating men. Living in a truck and mini trailers. And then I went climbing in Argentina. You know, I didn't have much money, but guess what? Waste a lot of money, man. Because of the labor, and they literally extract everything out of you. Because, man, most of them, look at all this stuff I did because I wasn't dating men. Salt flats in Argentina and doing comedy. No, man. Hopping on a tractor and canoeing down rivers. Never, man. Climbing, doing stuff that made me feel strong and challenged. Traveling all over the place just by myself. No, man, riding things. This thing was really hard, honestly. The Argentina, Chile, Patagonia. No, man. I mean, there were men there, but I was single. Things I did too, like moving to Spain at 40 by myself. Germany, and this is the Olympic Peninsula. No men. I mean, they came and went, but they weren't the center. Men don't need men. That's how you have an interesting life. That's climbing in the Alps. This is teaching English in Spain. Buying myself flowers. Guess what? Men never bought me flowers, so I'm buying for myself. Getting dirty and playing drums. Men. They don't bring that. You don't need men to have an interesting life. In fact, they're going to bore the hell out of you. So get the life you want. This is in People's Court. I snuck on it when I worked in the film industry. Anyway, this is the No Men. You don't need them. Comment song. Love yourself today.